Coming up, with the resort filling up nicely now, we'll be finding out exactly which hotels open their doors on July the 1st. Plus, we'll be taking a look at life on the many campsites in and around Benidorm, and then we'll let off some steam on a walk to the lighthouse.
Hi everyone, Michelle Baker here. I lived in Benidorm for more than 30 years, and since the lockdown I've been making these Benidorm Forever videos to keep you updated until you can get back here. So what's been happening the last week? Well, I tell you what, the temperatures have soared. It is baking 30 degrees as we speak, and Benidorm is getting busy. Come and have a look.
This week has marked a turning point for Benidorm as the traditional Spanish holiday period, which is generally considered to be July and August, got underway, and that's led to a steady stream of mostly Spanish nationals into Benidorm, and you can even see the occasional Brit about. The Spanish love Benidorm every bit as much as we do. The only downside to the Spaniards arriving is the increase in traffic, because whereas most Brits arrive here by plane, most Spaniards drive here. But this year the extra cars are a welcome sight, as it means we've got some customers. And with the arrival of more tourists in Benidorm, this has encouraged a few more hotels to reopen. So as promised, these are the ones that are open right now. The Melia, which was busy making the final touches last week, is now open for business, as you can see. And just along the road a bit, the Hotel Dynastic, synonymous by its orange balconies, also open. The Hotel Brisa, which means breeze, right down on the beachfront, that's open too. And in the heart of the old town, the Hotel Avenida is also open. Hotel giant Survey Group have opened just 2 of their hotels for the moment. These are the Diplomatic on the edge of the old town and the Torre Dorada overlooking the Poniente beach. The Hotel Nadal is also open, the Magic Rock Garden, and also the Hotel Helios. And with the arrival of a few more tourists, as you can see, the beach is getting a bit busier. This is the very beginning of the Levante beach, and probably the most famous part of Benidorm's beaches. But because up to now it's mainly been the Spaniards using the beaches and they prefer the area closest to the old town, the Rincon here, as we refer to it, has up to now been very quiet. But even this section is getting busier because of the newly opened hotels. And although it's nothing like it would normally look like on a morning in July, it's still an extremely welcome sight. The beach pods are working well, everyone's respecting the social distancing rules or wearing masks if they can't. The foot washes now work on a sensor so you don't have to touch them, and as a side note, in case you didn't know this, the foot washes use salt water. Benidorm is a very eco-friendly resort and fresh water is far too precious to waste on washing feet. Out on our travels, we were delighted to see the Winning Post open again. It's a firm favourite with locals as well as the tourists, and we popped past to give Colleen and Kevin and their son Cabe a wave, and we met a lovely couple who have been stuck in Benidorm since before the lockdown. Mick and Lil from Liverpool arrived for a month back in February, and they're still here now. But even though they're finally flying back home on Friday, the experience hasn't put them off, and they've already booked to come back to Benidorm in November. But sadly, not every bar will be here to greet you when you get back. With the lockdown over, locals are having to make some tough decisions, and this week we've heard of several bars that won't be reopening, with one landlord telling me, "My Benidorm dream has turned into my biggest financial nightmare." Now, as promised, we're going to take a look at the campsites. This is another part of the resort filling up nicely, and it's long since been predicted that this summer folk would seek more self-catering style holidays where they didn't have to share facilities, and campsites fall into that category. There are around 10 campsites in and around Benidorm, and the local economy really relies on the spending power of the residents and holidaymakers that use these sites. Some are right in the thick of the resort, like La Torreta that virtually backs onto the Benidorm Palace. Others, like the 5-star Al Mafra resort, are a short bus ride away. But they've all got one thing in common. They provide a fabulous life under the sun and a great community spirit, and they cost a fraction of the price you'd pay for a villa, for example. Over the winter month, these sites are full of people who seek warmer climates. Mostly retired, these people spend their days and their money in the local area all over winter. Then they head back home for the summer months, making way for holidaymakers to take their place. Others leave their caravan on site for family and friends to use. And don't be fooled by the outside. The inside is usually kitted out with every home comfort, including fitted kitchens, washing machines and proper toilets. And there are hundreds of people who consider the sites their permanent home, like Paul and Jackie, who've lived on Villamar for 13 years. The couple used to run Foley's Bar and they appeared in the bargain-loving Brits TV series. But since selling the bar, Paul now works as a DJ at Valentine's, which hasn't reopened yet, so he's been keeping the locals entertained with his weekly quizzes, as well as enjoying his regular hobbies of playing golf and walking the dogs at the local dogs' home. I bumped into Paul and Jackie whilst out filming, and he did confirm the site's gradually filling up again.
So the campsite's been reopened for about 2 weeks now. In that first 2 weeks we've seen a few Spanish tourists coming and using the site, and just in this last week the British holidaymakers who've got holiday homes here, they've started to come back out and use it, and there's families around now, so it's great news to see that.
If you're looking for a camping holiday this summer, a short stay on one of these fabulous sites in your caravan or motorhome costs from around €35 per night. Or if you're more interested in spending a long period here over the winter, for example, expect to pay on average around €400 per month. Campsites are a subject close to my heart, having owned our own small campsite close to Albia called Orange Grove, which unfortunately we were forced to close around 5 years ago due to a technicality. But the good news is we now have permission to reopen, and we're working flat out to make it happen as soon as possible. Orange Grove is only small, just 40 plots around a central pool and bar area, but we sure did have some fun. So if you're looking for a quiet site in the countryside, 10 minutes from Benidorm, either for a holiday or for a long stay, please get in touch via our Facebook page, Orange Grove Camper Park. It's not as fancy as the big sites, but neither are our prices. And now, as promised, we're going to head over to the neighbouring town of Albia to enjoy a walk up to the lighthouse. This is an exceptionally popular pastime with the locals and tourists. Come and find out why. El Faro, as we call it, meaning the lighthouse, sits in the Serra Gelada Natural Park and is enjoyed by thousands of locals and tourists every week. A great calorie burner, the 2.5 kilometre path that leads to the lighthouse is popular both as a stroll with the family and friends or as a power walk or run as part of your exercise regime, and the views en route are simply stunning. Depending on your speed, the 5 kilometre round trip typically takes around an hour and a half, but it always takes me a bit longer simply because I love going into the old lighthouse to relive its history. Built in 1863, adjacent to a watchtower that dates back to the 16th century, the original lamp was fuelled using olive oil and could be seen from 9 miles away. But this was replaced 20 years later in 1883 with a paraffin lamp, thus increasing visibility to 17 miles. Originally manned by a lightkeeper and his family, inside the lighthouse you can see all their photos together with a history of life on the cliff. The road to the lighthouse as we know it now didn't exist. Instead, the keeper had to access by boat and then climb a narrow, steep path from the shore. It was a lonely existence, and so regular visits from friends at the weekends made life more fun. And inside the lighthouse you can see photos of these adventures donated by the locals. There's even one of my husband's grandfather taken in 1942. By 1960, automated lights had been invented, and so a living keeper was no longer required. Ironically, that's exactly when they started to build the access road that we use today. But with no keeper living on site, the living quarters at the lighthouse ran into disrepair until the town hall gathered funds to restore it in 2011, calling upon Antonio Hurtado, the last keeper at the lighthouse who hadn't been back in 50 years, to help recreate the layout. There are information boards to explain the vegetation, the history and even the views along the way, which as you can see are spectacular. You can see right up the coast up to Calpe, and I really hope I've inspired you to come and visit the lighthouse in Albia when you're next here. From Benidorm it's super simple. Jump on the number 10 bus, get off on the beach in Albia and literally follow the road from the beach along the cliff until you come to the car park. This is where the walk starts. If you're in your own vehicle, there's plenty of parking and even a nice picnic area just as you go through the door. But heed my top tip, this is a national park. There are no toilets or refreshments once inside, so use the loos at the entrance and take plenty of water. Well, as you've probably noticed by now, I'm passionate about the history of our area and I hope you've enjoyed our trip down memory lane today. Next week we'll bring you up to date with the latest news in Benidorm as the resort continues to unfold, and we'll head off on another adventure, guaranteed to inspire you to explore the area when you're next here.
Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed today's video. Please feel free to comment. We love hearing from you. Tell us what you miss and we'll try and include it. And remember to share our videos, follow us on Facebook. We want you all to remember Benidorm forever. Thank you.